King's Dominion opened in 1975, designed to be the sister park to Kings Island, which opened 3 years earlier. This went from a Taft Park, to King's Entertainment, to Paramount, and now it's owned by Cedar Fair. It's one of their mid-tier parks, not getting amazing investments, but also not ignored either. It currently sports 13 coasters, with 6 others having come and gone over the last 48 years. These coasters come in all shapes and sizes, some good, some bad. But today, let's put all bias aside and see which one is the tallest, fastest, longest, best paced, and we'll rank them up based on prime ride time. These are all the coasters that ever operated at King's Dominion, by the numbers. If you're new to the series, prime ride time starts when the front car starts picking up speed off the lift hill, and it ends when it hits the final brakes. For launch coasters, the clock starts when the launch starts. Mid-course brakes are left in, but if they slow the train down too much, it will extend the ride time, but it will also hurt the pacing. With the help of Google Maps and the Pythagorean theorem, I was able to take out the lift, station, and brakes from the overall length, so the number on your screen will not match what you see on RCDB. In 19th place with 10 seconds is Great Pumpkin Coaster, an E&F Miler kiddie coaster. This opened as Taxi Jam in 1997, the same kids coaster Kings Island got back in 1992. It stands 8 feet tall and goes through an oval layout with some very small hills, hitting 10 miles per hour over the 144 feet of track, covering about 14.4 feet per second. All of that is good for last place. They do have a Wild Mouse, but even that has better pacing than Great Pumpkin Coaster. In 18th place with 18 seconds is Hypersonic XLC, an S&S thrust air coaster. This prototype opened in 2001, the first ever coaster built by S&S, and it was fast and furious. It launches riders 0 to 80 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds. That's the second fastest coaster in the park's history. Then it rises up a 165-foot top hat, diving 133 feet back down. That's good for 5th place. Then it turns around and winds back to the station, so this really is a one-trick pony. It barely covers 1,000 feet of track, and that's only 15th. Given its speed and length, its pacing is very good, but not as strong as I thought. It's 6th place, covering 56 feet per second. Being a prototype, it had a lot of problems, and after the 2007 season, this was scrapped. In 17th place with 22 seconds is Tumbili, an S&S free spin. The park's newest coaster is one of those small free spins. They have about 250 less feet of track than the original free spins, so with 599 feet of prime ride track, it's second to last. It rises up 112 feet, but its max drop is only about 50 feet. That's 13th. Naturally, it's not a speed machine, hitting 34 miles per hour, which is second to last, and it's near the bottom in pacing at 27.2 feet per second, good for 16th. In 16th place with 30 seconds is King Cobra, a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. While Kings Island got the Arrow shuttle loop in 1977, King's Dominion went for the Schwarzkopf weight drop model. Sitting right there on the side of the lake, this would launch riders out at 53 miles per hour, good for 8th, go through the loop, and rise up almost 138 feet. That's all the way up at 4th in the park. But depending where you're sitting on the train, your max height will vary. This covers all of its track twice, so a total of 1,444 feet is 12th place, and it's in the top half in pacing, 8th place with 48.1 feet per second. This left the park in 1986, and it currently operates in Brazil. In 15th place with 31 seconds is Shockwave, a Togo stand-up. King's Entertainment loved these in the 80s, but they have all come and gone. They all featured a loop, airtime hills, and a helix, all while standing up. It started with a 95-foot drop, good for 7th, topping out at 50 miles per hour, which is tied for 10th, covering almost 1,800 feet of track, which is 11th, but it's way up at 3rd in pacing. Given its size, that's surprising, but it stays pretty low to the ground after that helix, so it makes sense. This was finally scrapped in 2015. In 14th place with 35 seconds is Woodstock Express, a PTC family wooden coaster. This coaster actually predates the park it's in, operating at the Lion Country Safari in 1974, before King's Dominion opened in 1975. It opened as Scooby-Doo and has gone through some name changes, but it's been using the Peanuts theme since 2014. It's your typical King's Entertainment family Woody, 35 feet tall and 35 miles per hour, both 15th place. Covers less than 1,000 feet of track, which is 3rd to last, and actually outranks some bigger coasters in pacing at 27.8 feet per second, good for 15th. In 13th place with 42 seconds is Volcano the Blast Coaster, an Intamin suspended catapult coaster. Never before had anyone tried to launch a suspended coaster, but Intamin did it, and they did it inside a mountain. This had been used for a Smurf dark ride, but that was removed in the early 90s and the mountain was empty for years. This gets a train up to speed quickly, hitting 70 miles per hour, which is 3rd place, going up and out the top. maxing out at 155 feet, but the max drop is only 80 feet. That's 11th place. It doesn't seem like a long ride, but it winds around the mountain, covering over 2,500 feet of track, which is 4th. And given all that speed, especially at the beginning, Volcano is 2nd place in pacing at just over 60 feet per second. This had a lot of mechanical problems, officially removed along with the mountain in 2019. In 12th place with 43 seconds is Intimidator 305, an Intamin Giga Coaster. This was Cedar Fair's first major project for the park back in 2010, and it's known for its breakneck speed. This dominates the park, first place across the board. A 300-foot drop that's more than double everything else in the park. 90 miles per hour clears the field by 10. It's over 1,100 feet longer than the 2nd place coaster, and the pacing is almost 40 feet per second better than Volcano. This thing will rip your face off, and it blows every other coaster out of the water, stat-wise. In 11th place with 44 seconds is Reptilian, a mock rides bobsled. This was always known as Avalanche, but now that King's Dominion rethemed its area as Jungle Expedition, it had to get a new theme. This will not break your neck, but it does seem very intense because the train is not attached to the track. It stands 69 feet tall, but it winds its way down. I put its max drop at 10 feet, which would be good for 18th place. By the end of the ride, it gets all the way up to 41 miles per hour, which is 13th, using all of that 1,400 feet of track to get there. That's also 13th. It's also 14th in pacing, so it's in no way a stat monster, but given its nature, it really can't be. In 10th place with 46 seconds is Twisted Timbers, an RMC hybrid. When Hurler was given the Iron Horse treatment in 2018, it was King's Dominion's first coaster in 8 years, but it was worth the wait. It only has a 109-foot drop, but in this park, that's good for 6. Also tied for 6 in speed at 54 miles per hour. Up in 3rd place in length at almost 2,600 feet, going through its double out and back layout, and it stays low to the ground into those sharp camelbacks and inversions. That's 4th place at 56.3 feet per second. In 9th place with 48 seconds is Hurler, an International Coasters wooden coaster. Opening in 1994 as part of a new Wayne's World section, this wooden coaster had a pretty long double out and back layout, before being shut down in 2015 to be converted to Twisted Timbers. RMC added some height, as Hurler only had an 83-foot drop. That's 10th place, hitting 50 miles per hour, which is also tied for 10th. It's about 100 feet behind Twisted Timbers when it comes to prime ride track. That's 5th place, and given its low-to-the-ground layout with small hills and low turns, it's no wonder it's in the top half in pacing at 51.7 feet per second. In 8th place with 49 seconds is Backlot Stunt Coaster, a Premier Rides launch coaster. Paramount's final coaster at 3 of their parks was this Premier Rides clone, opening as Italian job stunt track and being well themed. It's a family-style launch coaster, so the stats aren't crazy. It uses LIMs to get up to 40 miles per hour. That's 14th. Rises up a 45-foot helix and drops down 31 feet. That's 3rd to last. And it covers a little over 1,800 feet of track, putting it near the middle in 10th. The ride actually has 61 seconds of ride time, but I take 12 seconds away because of that pause in the middle. The train stops and a helicopter shoots at you and you see an explosion, and then the ride continues. I took this out of the ride time, so that helps its pacing, but it's still down in 12th place. In 7th place with 53 seconds is Racer 75, a PTC racing wooden coaster. This opened with the park as Rebel Yell, being renamed after the 2017 season. Taft saw the success of Kings Island's Racer and wanted the same thing for King's Dominion. The two tracks are identical, just mirror images of each other, and this is a major out-and-back wooden coaster. It stands 85 feet tall, ranking 9th. It's up at 5th in speed and 6th in length, but because of that big turnaround, it's down at 9th in pacing. In 6th place with 56 seconds is Dominator, a B&M floorless. Cedar Fair moved this from Geauga Lake right after that park shut down. Officially, the first coaster the park got from Cedar Fair, and they got a good one. This is the world's longest floorless coaster, and in the park, it's 2nd place at 3,150 feet. Still, more than 1,100 feet behind I-305. Its height is no joke either. A 148-foot drop is also 2nd, hitting 65 miles per hour, which is down at 4th place. But it keeps that speed and has almost the same exact pacing as Twisted Timbers, finishing 5th. In 5th place with 57 seconds is Apple's Apple, a mock rides Wild Mouse. This opened as Ricochet in 2002, being rethemed when Candy Apple Grove was built in 2018, the centerpiece of that area being Twisted Timbers. Its neighbor is this very mild mock rides large park Wild Mouse, and you know it's a large park model because of that big first drop. At almost 50 feet, that's 14th place. It only hits 35 miles per hour, that's 15th place, and it slides down to 16th in length, still shy of 1,000 feet of prime ride track. These always have terrible pacing, and Apple's Apple is 2nd to last at 17 feet per second, still about 2.5 feet per second better than Great Pumpkin Coaster. Tied for 3rd with 58 seconds is Grizzly, a Taft wooden coaster. This opened in 1982 to replicate the Coney Island Wildcat, and it's set out in the woods. Even though it's a major wooden coaster, it's hard to see unless you're in the tower, and even then you can barely see it. It stands 87 feet tall, good for 8th. 9th place in speed at 51 miles per hour. It's a pretty long ride at 2,360 feet, but that's only good for 8th. Maybe it seems longer because it's so rough. It's also middle of the pack in pacing, a few feet behind its wooden counterpart, Racer 75. Tied for 3rd with 58 seconds is Anaconda, an aero looper. This stands 128 feet above the lake, but features an underwater tunnel with a 144-foot drop. That's 3rd place. It maxes out at 50 miles per hour. That's tied for 10th with Shockwave and Hurler. Despite all of that meandering after the brakes, it's not a long ride. Only 9th in length at just over 2,100 feet. And speaking of meandering, it's no surprise it's 13th place in pacing, just barely ahead of Reptilian. In 2nd place with 60 seconds is Flight of Fear, a Premier Rides launch coaster. This opened alongside its sister coaster at Kings Island in 1996, and these were the first ever LIM launch coasters. It blasts its riders out of the station at 54 miles per hour. That's tied for 6th alongside Twisted Timbers. It covers 4 more feet of prime ride track than Grizzly, good for 7th. And while it twists around its compact layout of 4 inversions, it covers 39.4 feet per second, which is 11th. When it comes to these spaghetti bowl coasters, I've said it before, the weird maneuvering it has to do really hurts the pacing. In 1st place with 67 seconds is Galaxy, an SDC Galaxy. I bet nobody saw this coming. This original opening with the park in 1975, closing down in 1983. There are a ton of these out there, including Bavarian Beetle at Kings Island, and some that are still operating, including one I just rode last summer, Galaxy at Cliffs Amusement Park. This stands 45 feet tall but only has a 32-foot drop. That's down at 16th. It hits a top speed of 35 miles per hour, which is tied for 15th. And it doesn't even cover 1,200 feet of track, which is down at 14th. As you can expect, the pacing is pretty bad, just barely ahead of Apple's Apple at 17.6 feet per second, as this model features sharp dips, but also very slow turnarounds and helices. These were a pretty slow 67 seconds, but for an old coaster, what do you expect? That's all for the Coasters of King's Dominion, by the numbers. Let me know if anything here surprised you, or confirmed something you already knew. I figured i305 and the 2 Extreme launch coasters would top the pacing list, but Hypersonic was down at 6, even behind Shockwave. I also thought that Anaconda was longer, but it's probably hurt by the very short first half. It hits the brakes after just 2 inversions. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I have a playlist with more videos in this format. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my 2nd channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to be a baseball fan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.